I gifted my dad a brand new truck for his 60th birthday. At dinner, he raised his glass and said to my foolish daughter trying to buy love with money. Everyone chuckled. I stood up, forced a smile, and left quietly. The next morning, his driveway was empty, and my phone was flooded with 88 missed calls. I'm not the kind of person who expects a standing ovation for doing something nice, especially not when it comes to family. But when I surprised my dad with a brand new truck for his 60th birthday, a fully loaded Ram 1500 he'd been obsessing over for months, I didn't expect him to toast to my stupidity in front of 14 people. He looked right at me, glass raised, and said it like it was a joke he'd been dying to share. To my idiot daughter, trying to buy love with money. There was laughter. Real loud, unfiltered laughter. Some people looked confused, maybe uncomfortable, but no one said a word to stop it. No one defended me. Erin giggled like she thought it was adorable. Lacey smirked. Even his friend Doug, who once told me I reminded him of his niece, the smart one in the family, didn't say anything. I just stood up, smiled like nothing happened, walked out through the kitchen, and drove home in total silence. What nobody knew was that truck had cost me more than just money. I work in finance, but not the sexy kind. The real kind. Spreadsheets, 60-hour weeks, projects that eat your weekends. I'd been putting aside money for over 2 years. Skipping takeout, saying no to new clothes, staying in while my friends went on trips. I'd even canceled my gym membership for 6 months and worked out at home just to save more. I knew I wouldn't get some dramatic movie hug out of it, but I also didn't expect to be publicly humiliated like that. It wasn't the first time either. My dad has always had a talent for turning love into something transactional. Growing up, I was never good enough in the ways that seemed to matter to him. I was smart. I got into a great college, got a solid job, but it was never Erin perfect. Erin was the golden child. Personal trainer, social media fits queen, tiny waist, perfect smile. When we were kids, he once made me take Erin's school picture out of my wallet because it made me look jealous. The weight thing, it was always there in every comment, every birthday dinner where he ordered salad for me without asking. He said it was out of love. Lacey once told me, he just worries about your health. Except he didn't worry, he judged. He measured. When I was 21, he told me no man would love me unless I got under 150. That number stuck with me for years like a curse. So when I saved up and bought that truck, the exact color trim, even the silly sea cooling feature he raved about, I wasn't buying love. I was proving that I could give something to him that he never gave to me. Generosity without conditions, but I should have known better. That night, I didn't cry. I wish I could say I did, but I just sat in my apartment staring at nothing. Something clicked off inside me. I felt like a fool, but I also felt strangely calm, like I'd finally hit the last stop on a long ride. I never wanted to be on in the first place. The next morning, I checked the paperwork. The dealership had registered the truck to me, but I hadn't transferred the title yet. Legally, it was still mine. I called the manager and explained the situation. He remembered me, said if I brought it back quickly and it was still clean, they could reverse the paperwork and list it as a showroom demo. I get most of my money back. So, I drove over to his house around 6:15 the next morning. The neighborhood was still asleep. His sprinklers were running. The red bow was still on the hood, wilting from dew. I unlocked the door with the second key, the one I kept in my glove box, started the engine, and backed out of the driveway, without a single soul watching. By the time I made it back to my place, my phone had exploded with notifications. 28 missed calls, a few voicemails, but I didn't listen to them. I just sat on the edge of my bed holding the phone like it belonged to someone else. There were texts from Erin. Why would you do that? Are you seriously that petty? He's freaking out. Like actually losing it. Call me. Lacey sent one too. Just 3 words. You heard him. But none of them asked how I felt. And my dad. He left a voicemail saying I embarrassed him in front of his people. Like this was some kind of business transaction gone wrong. That was the beginning of the unraveling. He had no idea how fast things were about to sure. FT. I didn't return a single call that day. Not his, not Erin's, not Lacey's. I left my phone buzzing on the counter and drove straight to the gym. That had quietly become my thing in the months leading up to his birthday. Showing up, no announcements, no gym selfies, no grand declarations, just work. My therapist once said that sometimes you don't change to prove something to others. You do it so you don't keep hating yourself every time you see your own reflection. That one hit harder than I admitted. I stayed for 2 hours. I wasn't even doing anything special. treadmill machines, just moving until the noise in my head settled. When I finally checked my phone, there were more missed calls than before. 37 now. 1 voicemail from Aaron, 3 from my dad, and 2 from Lacey. A couple of texts. One from Aaron just said, "So dramatic." Seriously, it was a joke. Grow up. That was her version of comfort, I guess. Another from Lacey. "You embarrassed him. Please call me." But none of them asked how I was. None of them said, "Sorry." The one voicemail from my dad I did listen to was just him pacing around some point between angry and condescending. He said I was overreacting, that it was a harmless joke, and that people laughed because it was funny. Then he added something that stopped me cold. "If you're going to be this sensitive, maybe don't come around anymore." I stared at the wall for a full minute before deleting it. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this wasn't about one toast. It wasn't about the truck either. It was about years of comments like that. Years of being told I was too sensitive, too heavy, too plain, too serious, too dramatic, not enough of this, too much of that. Every time I tried to get close, he found a way to make me feel like an obligation. Like my job was to either laugh at myself or stay quiet. He called me his big girl since I was 12. When I begged him to stop, he rolled his eyes. At 17, when I showed him my prom dress, he asked if I was sure I didn't want to try something more flattering. I went alone that year, not because I didn't have options, but because I couldn't bear the thought of him seeing me in that dress and thinking she really believes she looks good. I sat with all of that in my apartment that night, eating cold leftovers in silence, realizing this was probably it. Not just a fight, a shift. Before and after. The next morning, I opened Instagram. I shouldn't have, but I did. Erin had posted a photo of Dad standing beside the now empty driveway, mug in hand, looking pissed. Her caption read, "Still waiting for my truck," with a crying laugh emoji. People commented things like, "Oh, Miss Savage," and tell her to bring it back. Someone even wrote, "Hope she kept the receipt." I took a screenshot, then I blocked her. Done. That's when I called my therapist. We'd started weekly sessions after last Christmas. The one where my dad told everyone at dinner that he hoped Erin would help me get it together this year. She'd laughed and said, "She's doing her best, Dad." He shrugged. I excused myself to the bathroom and sat on the tub for 20 minutes trying not to throw up. This time I told her everything. The toast, the voicemail, the Instagram post. He asked me what I wanted. I told her I wanted to disappear from that version of my life. She said, "Then do it." I thought about it for the rest of the day. Then that night, I drafted an email. Not to my dad. I knew what he'd do with it. Twist it, mock it, share it with someone. I sent it to Lacey. It wasn't cruel. It was clear. I told her I appreciated that she'd been civil over the years, but I was no longer willing to stay in a family that treated me like I was the entertainment. I told her I was done pretending. No more showing up for holidays or birthdays. No more sitting quietly when someone insulted me in front of others. I was finished with gifts, favors, or financial help. I needed space, not to prove a point, but to survive with my self-worth intact. Her response came that night. "I understand, and I'm sorry." Simple, but more than I'd ever gotten from my own family. I believed her. What I didn't expect was my mom's reaction. She lives in Oregon now, teaching business ethics at a small college. We talk occasionally, but she's been distant since she and my dad split when I was 12. I called her a few days later, expecting something neutral, maybe an attempt to keep the peace. Instead, she said something that hit me hard. "Good. I was wondering when you'd finally cut him off." That's when I knew I wasn't crazy. I sat in my kitchen, clutching my coffee like it was grounding me. I'd braced for one of those subtle guilt trips moms are known for. Something like, "He's still your dad," or "Don't be too hasty." But she was relieved, no hesitation. She said she'd been watching from afar for years. Watching. She knew if she'd spoken up sooner, I'd have defended him, maybe even pushed her away. That stung, but she was right. I'd spent years convincing myself I was overreacting, replaying his words, telling myself he didn't mean them that way, that I was just too sensitive. She told me she left him because she didn't want Aaron and me growing up thinking his version of love was normal. Aaron was too young to notice. I wasn't. I asked why she let him take the lead after the divorce, why he got the house, the school pickups, the Sunday mornings. She didn't dodge it, because he threatened to ruin me in court if I fought for full custody, and I thought you'd be safer if I didn't push. It was a quiet bomb, the kind you can't unhear. I realized I'd spent my adult life chasing approval from a man who only saw me as a mirror for his insecurities. Aaron fit his ideal: perfect, polished, pretty, thin. I was always too much of everything and not enough of what he valued. When he couldn't mold me, he made me a punchline. After that call, things became clearer. I stopped checking my phone constantly. I stopped waiting for an apology. The voicemails kept coming, some guilt-trippy, him sighing, saying he missed me, asking if I was done being emotional. Others were angry. "You don't take back a gift over a joke, Rebecca. That's not how adults behave." Then a text: "You'll regret this one day." That was his last message before silence. I took it as a gift. I focused on work, the gym, myself. I stopped using food as comfort. I blocked Aaron's accounts and unfollowed anyone tied to that world. I played music again while I cooked, let myself enjoy things without guilt. The strangest part was how light I felt. Not just physically, though I was down 18 pounds by then, but mentally, emotionally. I hadn't realized how much energy I'd burned just surviving being his daughter. The anxiety of family dinners, the pressure to show up, laugh at the insults, smile through the comparisons. All of it gone. Then one afternoon, I came home from the gym to an email. Subject line: "Let's talk." It was short, like he was scheduling a meeting with a colleague. "Rebecca, you've made your point. I'd like to sit down and talk like adults. This behavior has gone on long enough. Let me know when you're free." Dad. No apology, no reflection, just a man stunned that I'd actually walked away. I didn't reply. I didn't delete it. I printed it, folded it, and tucked it into my journal next to the truck receipt. A week later, Lacey texted me a photo of a grocery receipt, items, total, and a note: "Declined." 2 hours later, another text: "He tried using your old card. You need to cancel it." That's when it hit me. He wasn't trying to fix anything. He wanted me back for convenience. I wasn't his safety net anymore. I canceled the card that night, sitting on my couch, laptop glowing in the dark. It was a backup card I'd given him years ago for emergencies. I hadn't thought about it in forever, hoped he'd forgotten it. He hadn't. The receipt showed $182.43, declined. He tried twice more that day, same amount, like it was a glitch I'd fix for him. That was what got me, the assumption I'd always clean up his messes. But I didn't. I logged in, canceled the card, closed the account, and erased every trace of it from my name. That should have been the end. Of course, it wasn't. The next morning, I got a message from Kelly, a coworker from my old job. We hadn't spoken in 2 years. She wrote, "Hey, I don't know if this is true, but your dad messaged me last night." My stomach dropped as I scrolled. He'd contacted her and others I knew, claiming I was in a bad mental state, that I'd done strange things, like giving away a car, taking it back, isolating myself. He said he was worried I might hurt myself. He even attached a photo from Aaron's engagement dinner 3 years ago. Me, heavier, smiling awkwardly, his arm around me. Caption: "Before she changed." My hands shook. It wasn't just anger. It was colder, like disgust. The man who humiliated me publicly was now playing the heartbroken father of an unstable daughter. I didn't reply to Kelly or post a defense. I called my lawyer, Dana, a sharp woman I knew from work who handled privacy and financial disputes. I told her everything: the truck, the insults, the calls, the card, the messages. I sent screenshots. She read them and said, "He's building a narrative before you can." By day's end, she drafted a cease and desist letter. Firm, not vindictive. It told him to stop spreading lies, stop contacting my circle, stop using my name publicly. 2 days later, Lacey texted, "He got the letter. He's furious. Says you humiliated him again." I didn't respond. I owed her nothing. The next day, Aaron texted out of nowhere, "You send a lawyer after Dad? What's wrong with you?" A minute later, "He's in the hospital. Congrats. Hope you're proud." I froze. I called the hospital. They confirmed he'd been admitted that morning. High blood pressure, chest pain, stress-related. Released already, not serious. But he made sure everyone thought it was. That afternoon, my notifications exploded. He'd posted a photo of himself in a hospital gown, hand over his chest. Caption: "Sometimes your heart breaks more than your kids will ever understand." Hundreds of comments: "Stay strong. You're a good man. Kids today have no respect. Praying for you." Aaron added a heart emoji. I stared at that post, shaking, not from sadness but from clarity. He didn't want reconciliation. He wanted control. He didn't want a daughter. He wanted an audience. That night, I showed my therapist the post. She scrolled silently, then said, "You can't win a game you didn't agree to play." That's when I decided. I didn't tell anyone, but I listed my apartment for rent, switched to full-time remote work, sold my car, and booked a one-way ticket to Arizona. My mom had just bought a small house with a guest room and had half-jokingly offered it before. This time, I said yes. Before I left, I did one last thing. I sent my dad a message that I told him one line: "Please don't contact me again. If you need to reach me, go through my lawyer." An hour later, he replied, "You'll regret this." But I didn't. Life in Arizona was quiet, peaceful. My mom gave me space, something I hadn't realized I needed. I stopped checking my phone every second, stopped feeling anxious, stopped expecting attacks. Slowly, I began to heal. 2 months later, a box arrived. Inside was a framed photo of my dad and me, with a note: "You'll always be my daughter, whether you like it or not." No apology. No accountability. Just control disguised as love. I packed it away. Then came the messages: "He's not doing well. Can you help with the house? He's still your dad." I felt nothing. I said only, "If he wants to talk, fine." When I saw him in LA, he looked old, tired. He talked about stress, missing me, excuses. I asked, "Why did you humiliate me when I gave you the truck?" He said it was a joke, that I was too sensitive. That's when I knew he didn't regret what he did, only the consequences. I told him I wasn't sensitive, just done. I told him he was the reason I spent years hating myself, and if he ever wanted a relationship, he'd need therapy and an apology, not my money. He said nothing. I walked away. That was a year ago. Since then, he's only reached out when he needs something. Always money, never remorse. I always say the same: put it in writing. He never does. Now I live near Sedona. I work, I teach, I'm healthy, inside and out. I've forgiven him, but not the way people expect. I've forgiven him enough to stop needing him. Enough to move on. I don't need revenge or closure. I have peace. And he has silence.